Hi again, everyone. Alright, so today I am actually going to be doing a second video. I'm going to be doing something slightly different. I've been saying that, when I do videos or when I do stuff for school, I want to actually incorporate it onto the YouTube website underneath my profile. So I'm going to be doing a presentation here on Monday on the history of computers for my computer class, CIS 105. And I needed to create some sort of presentation, so it's a PowerPoint presentation. And I'm going to go through this, and I need to see, how long this takes. This is going to be a little bit interesting because it needs to be over 5 minutes long, and I really do think I have it over 5 minutes. I hope it's not as long as 15, though. So without further ado, I'm just going to go ahead and start this off. And I do want to say I got all this information from 2 different sources. I tried to plug in all the information where it needs to be so that way people know where I got everything. And without further ado, I'm just going to go ahead and start. I'm going to kind of read from this from the slides and everything and kind of go from there. So the Prehistory Computers, all info here came from the History of Computers, which is from Decatur School's website. So I'm going to go ahead and do, where I got everything at the very end. So before starting up, computers and machines are items and objects that are made that make tasks easier. This is the reason why they were made in the first place. The counting board and abacus are some of the earliest forms of computers. They were made to help perform complex calculations so the mind doesn't have to remember the sum. Basically, the person would do the calculations in their head, and then they would put the sum down on the abacus or the counting board, so that way that sum is right there. The person can then do additional calculations on top of that and reflect it on the counting board or abacus. In 1642, Blaise Pascal created the Pascaline. The machine was to help his father, who was an accountant, actually moreover a tax accountant. The Pascaline never became popular. First of all, the machine broke down often, and its inventor was the only person who could fix it. Second, it was slow. Third, clerks who wouldn't use it. They were afraid it might replace them at their jobs. There's also a computer language out today called Pascal. It's basically where they got the name from, in honor of Blaise Pascal. And if I'm saying these names wrong, I am really sorry. So next off, 1673, Wilhelm Leibniz created the second calculating machine. It could do more than just add and subtract. Leibniz's calculator could also multiply, divide, and find square roots of numbers. It too was mechanical and worked by hand. A crank was added to speed up the working of the calculator, and it was used by mathematicians and bookkeepers. The one on the left is the counting board, and the one on the right is the abacus. I've never actually used either. So, yeah, but I know that if you go from right to left, it basically is ones, tens, hundreds, thousands, and then just kind of goes up from there, as far as I know. So, let's go next. So, also the Prehistory Computers, once again, same place I gained the information. In 1801, Joseph Marie Jacquard invented the Jacquard loom. It was a weaving machine that controlled by punch cards. While the loom was being pumped, cards with holes in them were attached together in a pattern through which the strings of threads were automatically fed. These cards would feed the right pieces of a thread into the loom and make a beautiful cloth. This scared other weavers so much that they burned down his home and the business where the loom was at. Jacquard persisted and made it again. This punch card system was later used in automatic pianos and even later in computers. In 1830, Charles Babbage created something called the analytical machine. This was used to make complex calculations and used a punch card system, and it used punch cards used similar to those of by Jacquard loom. Yes, I know it's kind of a reiterating. I might have to change that a little bit later before I get to the class. In 1890, Herman Hollerith created the tabulating machine. Its function was to help the U.S. Census. Before this machine, it took 8 years to complete the census information. Now, you have to remember, census back then, and if you think today, is done every 10 years. So if you start in 1890 before this machine, it would take until 1898 for them to understand and know the information. But because this was built, it only took 2.5 years to complete. That cuts down 5.5 years. That's a lot of time. So that way people can be doing something else. It also used a punch card system, and each hole had its own function which could be fed through the machine at 65 cards per minute. He later created a company called Tabulating Machine Company, which later got renamed to International Business Machines, or IBM for short. And on the left is Jacquard's punch cards. You can see the pattern there that they would make. Sorry. And on the right, what you can see is the tabulating machine that was used for the census. Now I'm going to go into newer style computers. Once again, gain the information from the same place. I do want to point out that the images that I've been using, like for these and these, and even the ones later on, I'm getting from the same place as I'm getting the information for most of these. There's going to be one slide which is from a different article, and I'll go into that a little bit later. Now, in 1930, Vannevar Bush introduced the first electrical computer in the United States. It was an analog device. That is, it can measure quantities that change continuously, such as temperature and air pressure. It used vacuum tubes to switch electrical signals that perform calculations. Bush's machine could do 25 calculations in a few minutes. The differential analyzer weighed 100 tons, used 2,000 vacuum tubes, thousands of relays, 150 motors, and approximately 200 miles of wire. Going from that to today, that is a lot, and that is insane. But that's I guess what they had back then. So I'm going to go on to the next one. 1937, Howard Aiken had an idea for a machine that could do calculations involving very large numbers. And in 1944, IBM paid engineers to build Aiken's machine. Called the Mark I, it was made up of 78 adding machines and desk calculators that were connected by almost 500 miles of wire. In 1 second, the Mark I could add three 8-digit numbers. For example, 12,345,678 plus 90,123,456 plus 78,901,234. It could print out its results in punch cards or in an electronic typewriter. This is a monstrosity, as it had 3,000 switches with 51 feet long and 8 feet tall, and it contained over 1 million parts and was over 5 tons. Now, the funny thing about this is Grace Hopper found the first bug in a computer. Literally a bug, a moth. And she was the one that coined the term debugging, as she took the moth out of the computer. Now, on the left side here, you have a picture of the Mark I. That thing's huge. And on the right side, you have a copy or an image of the report that was used by Grace Hopper. So, I mean, you can see there where if you go down it a little bit, you see what looks like a page, and then you see a moth that was literally taped over, and it says Relay 70 Panel F Moth in Relay, and it's the first case of a bug being found. I think that's absolutely hilarious. Alright, so now I'm going to go into World War II and beyond. Once again, info gained from the same place. During the Second World War, Germany created something called the Enigma machine. Every day the settings on it were different, allowing Germany to encipher and decipher messages quickly and accurately with a high degree of complexity. However, in 1943, Alan Turing and his colleagues created a machine in December 1943 that was able to begin decoding the Enigma. The Colossus, which actually was its name, which was the name of the computer, was one of the world's earliest working programmable electronic digital computers. Which is actually kind of interesting and kind of fascinating, the fact that they can actually, day by day, decipher the code that was being used and be able to then work it out to see what the Germans were sending to each other. Now, in 1946, tiny electronic pathways called circuits began to perform the counting that had been formerly done by gears and other mechanical parts. After this, parts started getting smaller and more powerful. Between 1945 and 1956, computers were made up of vacuum tubes. These types of computers were huge, slow, expensive, and often unpredictable. The ENIAC came out in 1946. It was created by John William Moschly and John Presper Eckert. The EDSAC, created by John von Neumann, was made in 1949. It had 3,000 vacuum tubes, and the programs were input using paper tapes. Finally, the UNIVAC, created in 1951 by Eckert and Moschly. It was the first type of computer ever sold to businesses. And a funny side note, sorry I misspelled that, funny side note, it was used to predict the presidential election of Dwight Eisenhower, and no one believed the machine's prediction at first, but apparently it was very accurate. And on the left side, there is a picture of Enigma, while on the right side, you see a picture of Alan Turing. I don't believe I have any more pictures after this, so we're just going to go straight through this information. Now, from 1956 to 1963, there were computers that were made of transistors. In 1947, three scientists, John Bardeen, William Shockley, and Walter Brattain, created the transistor, which functions like a vacuum tube in it that it can be used to relay and switch electronic signals. The transistor was so good that vacuum tubes would not be used again due to them being faster, more reliable, smaller, and much cheaper to build than a vacuum tube. Basically, one transistor equals 40 vacuum tubes. So, I mean, that cuts down greatly when you're hearing the numbers from before to now. This is able to make. This is also made from silicon, and this is where we start to see silicon take over the industry. Now, because of the transistor, it made space travel available and was widely used in the 1960s. And from 1965 to 1970, integrated circuits and miniaturization began to happen. Robert Noyce of Fairchild Corporation and Jack Kilby of Texas Instruments independently discovered the amazing attributes of integrated circuits. Placing such large numbers of transistors on a single chip vastly increased the power of a single computer and lowered its cost considerably. It is said that after this was discovered, the number of transistors that can be placed on a single chip has doubled every 2 years. These new computers could carry out instructions in a billionth of a second. Now we're going to go to processors, and once again, and beyond. Ted Hoff, employed by Intel, Robert Noyce's new company, invented a chip the size of a pencil eraser that could do all the computing and logic work of a computer. The microprocessor was made to be used in calculators, not computers. It led, however, to the invention of personal computers, or microcomputers, as they're called. This led to people to start buying computers for the homes to be used in whatever they want. Basically, personal computers, gaming, writing, typing, whatever. Gaming really didn't start until a lot later, as far as I know, on the computer. Now, one of the earliest personal computers was the Altair 8800 computer kit, and in 1975 you could purchase this kit and put it together to make your own personal computer. In 1977, the Apple II was sold to the public, and in 1981, IBM entered the PC personal computer market. Now, in 1976, Stephen Wozniak, who had been interested in computers since 4th grade, decided to build a small computer that would be easy to use. His friends were impressed with it, and Stephen Jobs wanted to market it. The two started their business, Apple Computer Incorporated, with the $1,300 they got by selling Jobs' Volkswagen bus and Wozniak's scientific calculator. However, they got the name Apple was through Jobs' summers spent picking apples in the Northwest. The Apple II mentioned above was their first computer that was ever made. I'm going to go into Microsoft here. This thing deserves it. There's too much information, so I had to make one slide for all of it. Now, in December 1974, Paul Allen was on his way to visit Bill Gates when along the way he stopped to browse the current magazines. I believe it's Popular Science, not exactly sure, when he went to Gates after buying it, and the magazine was the Altair 8800. The two of them knew that the home computer business was going to go big, so what did the two of them do? What any sane person would do. They contacted MIT's Microinstrumentation and Telemetry Systems, the maker of the Altair, and he told the company that he and Allen had developed a BASIC that could be used on the Altair. This was a lie. They had not even written a line of code. They had neither an Altair nor the chip that ran the computer. This is actually kind of funny to me. Now, Gates and Allen began working feverishly on the BASIC they had promised. The code for the program was left mostly up to Bill Gates, while Paul and Allen began working on a way to simulate the Altair with the school's PDP-10. 8 weeks later, the two felt their program was ready. Now, when Allen went to MITS, he showed them the program. Now, normally one would think the program failed, but it didn't. Actually, from what I read, it worked perfectly. MITS arranged a deal with Gates and Allen to buy the rights of their BASIC. Now, within a year after that, Bill Gates had dropped out of Harvard and Microsoft was formed. Just off that alone. And you know what? I think that was a very smart decision for him concerning what he has made. Now, I'm going to go into this one, other information, and this is just kind of a timeline, really simple. It's one slide. I do want to say that all the information gained in this slide here was gained from Kim Ann Zimmerman's article, History of the Computers, A Brief Timeline. And really quickly, I'm going to say that one is on the Live Science website. So just so everyone knows where I got that from. Now, in 1983, Apple releases the first computer with a GUI. It also features a drop-down menu and icons. Also, the Gavilan SC is the first portable computer with a familiar flip form factor and the first to be marketed as a laptop. So, same year that came out, I mean, laptops are basically created in 1983. 1985, Microsoft announces Windows, its response to Apple's GUI. Commodore unveils the Amiga 1000, which features advanced audio and video capabilities. In 1994, PCs became gaming machines as Command & Conquer, Alone in the Dark 2, Theme Park, Magic Carpet, Descent, and Little Big Adventure are among the games to hit the market. In 1997, Microsoft invests $150 million in Apple, which was struggling at the time, ending Apple's court case against Microsoft, in which it alleged that Microsoft copied the look and feel of its operating system. Now, you really don't see that in business today. I think that is actually really awesome that Microsoft decided to do that. It also shows that it didn't truly want a monopoly, but it wanted to go ahead and help out its competition, to have something out there that it can compete with. Now, in 2007, the iPhone brings many computer functions to the smartphone. 2010, Apple unveils the iPad, changing the way consumers view media and jump-starting the dormant tablet computer segment. And in 2015, Apple releases the Apple Watch. Now, I mean, if Microsoft hadn't done that, think about what wouldn't be here today. Those last three things, all possible because Apple was able to continue on. So now, I'm going to go ahead and do this. I have questions for you all. So if you want to leave comments or answers below in the comments section, please go ahead and do so. First thing is where do y'all see computers going from here? I mean, just think about it within the next 10, 20 years. Where do you think we're going to go from here with computers? Do you think artificial intelligence will come within 10, 20, or 50 years? Do you think we're all too dependent on computers and technology today? And would you rather live today or back before modern computers were made? So with that, I'm going to go ahead and show my works cited. The History of Computers, Decatur City Schools, is on the web. I showed the link right below that, and I accessed it on April 2nd, 2016. Now the next one, the article History of Computers, A Brief Timeline by Kim Ann Zimmerman. It's on Live Science. It's on its website. The article came out on September 8th, 2015. Like I said, it's on the web, and I accessed it on April 9th, 2016, today, the day I'm actually making this video. And there is the link right there. So, if you all like this, please let me know. Please put your replies below. Subscribe to my channel. I want to do more things like this, so I'm going to be doing presentations while I'm at school. I'm probably going to do this. If you want me to continue on doing this, please let me know. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and end this video. Y'all have a great day.